live from New York City today and tonight. And what we have tonight is a second day of amazement that they could send a target letter to the former president and leading Republican presidential candidate for president, sent by the Justice Department, controlled by his opponent. Now, if you don't think his Justice Department is controlled by his opponent, well, then I don't know, go to Mars. Because for the last 3 years, every bit of evidence that has come through, I don't mean by the lying media, I mean the truth, is that Biden is in complete control of the Justice Department. This is without any doubt and without any fear of contradiction by any historian you want to go find, this is the most corrupt president in American history. He has corrupted more institutions of American government than any president could have even dreamed of corrupting. And the main one that he focuses on, of course, is the big one, and that's the Justice Department and the FBI. He owns them. Watch the way he was investigated. Look at the way his son was investigated. Look what they did for Hillary Clinton. And look on Trump. They got him indicted twice. Now they're going for a third one. Georgia for a fourth one. I don't know, they got 5 and 6 somewhere? Or have we run? You want to put yourself in the category of political scoundrel. If you want to put yourself in the category of someone in American history who will be viewed as a villain, like the British were during the War for Independence, indict him. You're writing a hell of a legacy for yourself, Smith. Jesus, in the Justice Department, you blew an awful lot of cases unethically. You got even a couple of people that had to be, acquitted by the Supreme Court? How do you think this is all going to get written eventually when it turns out this is a big conspiracy? Your case is garbage. Is it bigger garbage than brag? I don't know, but you want to compare yourself to brag? Last one was a joke. Shuffling paper around Mar-a-Lago. While the other guy stuck it in Chinatown. When the Chinese would be very interested in it. Put it in his house next to a Chinese spy. And you haven't even, there hasn't been a peep out of that investigation. Not a peep. Why fool us? Why don't you just tell us? Come on, tell us the rules so we can live by it. Biden doesn't get prosecuted. Democrats don't get prosecuted. Lawyer, I'm going to try to put you in jail. That's me. I know that. So why don't you tell the rest of them that? Because that's what you're trying to tell them through me. You're trying to tell them that you can't do the job of a lawyer because if you do, you could be disbarred. You could go to jail. Not America anymore, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. Not America. So today, 2 IRS agents testified. Neither one of them is political. Neither one of them fits any of the categories of the few witnesses offered by the lying Democrats who all show up on the committee. I mean, these guys are like weathermen who go through 5 years of all false weather reports, and then you still have them on. I mean, it's. I'm looking at that Raskin guy. That guy is a big, major Russian collusion guy, liar. In other words, he's a big, major liar. He knew when he was pushing that it was false, that he was lying, that he was exaggerating. And then it got to the point where he knew he was using not only a false story, a fictitious story paid for by Hillary Clinton for $1.1 billion. And he was using it to overthrow the president of the United States. And then he wants to do holier than thou about January 6th. But he gets away with it. The guy gets away with being a terrible, immoral, amoral liar. And they just say it, and somehow it clouds over the unbelievable damage that this man Biden has done to his country and to his family. You see the condition of his family? My God. Wow. Won't acknowledge his grandchild? Don't you have to step back and ask, what kind of man is that? I'm not getting into his personal life. I'm not talking about girlfriends, boyfriends, or whatever kind of friend. I'm talking about a guy that has to be pathological. Well, you know he's pathological from the day he was a kid. They concluded that in '88 when they dropped him out of the presidential race. A couple of guys said he'd never be back because he was such a big liar. Wow. They hated Trump so much, they gave us a lifetime liar, a lifetime crook, a guy that was dumb before he was demented, and now is demented. We probably had other presidents who were left back in the third grade, but I don't think we had presidents who had to cheat their way through law school. I hope not. And then finally, today, Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Shapley gave devastating testimony. And there's one part of it, and I can give you, I'm going to tell you that part of it is the reason for the target letter to Trump. You're going to say, how are they connected? I want you to think about that before I get to that. Okay. It explains the persecution of Trump. It explains what the DA in Georgia is doing to Trump, to many of his associates and friends, including yours truly. But look, they indicted all those electors in Michigan. These are just honorable, decent people. Just honorable, decent people. And there's no fraud involved. No one tried to pretend that they were electors. They were alternative electors should there be a change, for which there was some pretty good evidence that there should be a change. They couldn't put themselves in office. This is pure persecution of people, Republicans who serve Trump, trying to make sure he has no lawyers. His co-defendant had a hard time getting a lawyer. I know people who were fired from law schools for defending Trump, for just helping. This is not made up. There is a tyranny going on in the bar associations, in the law schools, and in the law firms against anyone involved with Trump. And what that poor excuse for an AG in Michigan did is outrageous. She should worry about the tremendous amount of corruption in the city of Detroit, which would make Sodom and Gomorrah look pretty good. So can we go to, well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in their testimony, but we have a lot of other things to cover. So I thought I'd get right to the heart of the matter. Right at the very beginning, very beginning, Coomer, I believe it is, lays out the case pretty well with Ziegler. So should we play that? This is going to involve the money that Joe, Hunter, and the Biden crime family got in Romania and that they got in Ukraine. Now, this is not to prove that it's a bribe. We can do that separately. This is to prove they got the money and they never reported it. They falsely reported. This is not a situation of not paying your taxes. This is a situation of falsely reporting your taxes, which is much more serious. Now, why is it more serious? Well, if you report your taxes honestly and you don't pay them, you put yourself on the hook for them. In other words, the government can get them. The government doesn't have to go through the trouble of trying to find out how much money it's going after. It knows what it has to go after and has a myriad of ways of doing that, mostly civil, as well as settling. So at least you've completed half the process. When you put a false number down, well, then you try to fool them and cheat them out of the rest. Or if you put no number at all and you get millions, well, now you're really cheating them. And if you earned a lot of money and you don't report, then how can they find the money? So people are saying, oh, Biden has a misdemeanor. Most people don't even get charged for that. No. Most people don't get charged for failure to pay if they put the tax return in at the right time with the right numbers. A lot of times people don't get charged for failure to file if they report, because once again, you can recover the taxes. The felony, the big crime happens when you put a wrong number down. You made 5 million. You make believe you made 2. You just saved $2 million in taxes. And they may never find that because you may be one of the many people that never gets audited. You slip right under the, you get it? The pretense from the phony press is that the Bidens were doing the lesser tax crime. No. They were doing tax evasion at levels that most Americans don't even think about. And you'll hear it right now. We're talking about millions that they didn't report to the government so they could cheat the government out of the taxes they were owed. This is the son of a that wants to collect more. He says, the rich don't pay enough taxes. Hey, Joe, you don't pay any taxes. Go ahead.
Since assuming our Republican majority in January, the House Oversight Committee has made historically fast progress in our investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling schemes. In just 6 months, we have obtained thousands of pages of financial records. This includes bank records for Biden family associates and suspicious activity reports generated by the Bidens and their associates' high-dollar or foreign business transactions. What these records reveal is astonishing. The Bidens created over 20 shell companies, most of which were created when Joe Biden was vice president. Bank records so far show the Biden family, their business associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and related companies. A lot of this money poured in while Joe Biden was vice president. Despite creating many companies after vice president took office, the Biden family used associates companies to receive millions of dollars from foreign companies in China, Ukraine, and Romania. After foreign companies sent money to business associates companies, the Bidens then received incremental payments over time to various different bank accounts. These complicated financial transactions were used deliberately to conceal the source of funds and total amounts. No normal business operates like this. What were the Bidens selling? Nothing but influence and access to the Biden network.
So let me see if I have the arithmetic correct here, because this is important. In the year 2014, when Joe Biden is sitting in the White House as a public official of the United States of America, his son is pulling money in from the biggest crook in Ukraine, who wants to fix a case that Joe Biden eventually fixes for him. That's the story. Between 2014 and 2018, they collect, was it 6 million from Ukraine? And then their captive PR company, Washington, D.C.
7.3?
Washington, D.C. Swamp Dwellers, 3-star, Blue Star, Dark Star, No Star Strategy. You know, ass licking, ass licking. Well, they'll lick any ass for the right money. So they go lick the asses of a bunch of Ukrainian massive crooks, and then they hang around K Street. That's what you got in Washington. You go down K Street, boy, you better watch out. I'd rather walk through a high crime area of New York. I'm more comfortable there. If they come at me with a gun, I can see it. These guys are trying to come at me with phony indictments and stuff like that. I can handle taking on the mafia. I can handle taking on these guys too.
Oh, man.
You know what? If you say boo back to them, they pee in their pants. This is the worst thing. This is what Washington, Blue Star Strategies is exactly what's wrong with Washington. And Biden is exactly what's wrong with Washington. And the press gets covered up. Even the bribe that he took the first year he was in office, which Greg Kelly illustrated last night beautifully. There's a few little bucks that those cheap little Biden brothers sold themselves for.
Don't worry, Mayor. The Washington Post has written a story, and Blue Star Strategies has been cleared by our lovely current Department of Justice of any wrongdoing. So I'm not sure why we're talking about Blue Star Strategies. The Washington Post has cleared Blue Star Strategies of any wrongdoing.
And Garland has
Yeah.
cleared.
Oh, and Merrick Garland. Now,
Right.
I can't think of.
Wow.
What else do you
Well,
need?
the show's over. I got to leave. Nothing to report now. I mean, the arbiters of truth.
The arbiter is the truth. Democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it does. So here's what you got. Real simple. You have about $7.2 million altogether, or 8 million really, coming in from Ukraine during that period of time. 4 million from Romania. So you have a total of 17 million. You have 17.1, right? Is what they estimate.
They're saying 7.3 from Ukraine, Mayor, 3.1 from Romania.
They estimate a total of
of over 17. Yeah,
17.1 or 17.4.
I'll get the exact number.
Because there's money. Please, the Bidens don't like us to report that they didn't always make like 8, 10, 12 million. They did have a couple of 1 and 2 millions, and they'd rather not have that. They're willing to go down to the 3.5 from Russia. That's enough. That's a respectable number to buy a Biden. But they got a couple for 500,000, 400. I mean, honestly, if you negotiated with them, you could probably buy them by just agreeing to one of Joe's lies, like saying to him, "You really were first in the class, Joe," and patting him on the head.
That's right, Mayor.
Yeah,
Companies,
or my God, I guess if you let him go sniffing around little girls, he might pay you.
So that's right, Mayor.
What do you think, Mike? You see that one the other day where he was like biting her? He was biting the kid.
Yeah.
Think he arrested him for assault for that one?
Well,
the kid didn't like it. The kid did not like it. I know. I have a granddaughter that age. If I were there and that was Andrew's kid, either Andrew and I would be in jail right now.
Well, Mayor,
because we'd punch the son of a bitch out.
As you know, Democrats are trying to make
touch my granddaughter like that.
That's right.
I punch you. I don't care how old I am.
Of course, Democrats are trying to make pedophilia normal, calling it minor attracted persons. So if you tell this to a Democrat, they will highly disagree with you. But common sense people like me and you and Ted,
are they going to have it in their platform that pedophilia will no longer be a crime?
So it's funny you said that. Actually, in California, the House Republicans put in a bill to make pedophilia, sex trafficking, all this stuff.
This must be very comfortable for the Biden family.
Right. A lifetime sentence automatically if you're convicted. And of course, every single Democrat in California voted against it, and the bill did not pass. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sickening.
Take a look at the hard drive. I don't know how many pictures they have on that site.
Ugh.
Go count up the number of little girls in sexualized outfits and tell me that they don't have a problem in that family.
I have nothing but respect.
And then you take a look at him acting with little girls, what he does, the weird. Do you know any man? I mean, if we do know men who are pedophiles, the 3 of us, 4 of us, right? We don't know it.
Right.
I mean, if I knew a man who was a pedophile, I'd also might be in jail. But it would be really hard. I would have him arrested because I've been civilized now. But when I was back in Brooklyn, I could tell you what would happen to him.
Mayor, when I saw Sound of Freedom this past weekend, I was enraged by what is enraged.
Because you're a decent man.
I think I'm a little bit more than a decent man, of course. Yeah.
You can't be more than a decent man.
You know what I mean?
Mike's a great man. This is a great man.
Jesus doesn't want anybody to be a great man or a perfect man or
decent.
He wants him to be a good man.
That's right.
Here's where
it comes before the fall, Mike.
Here's where I put it.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
Thank you, Mayor. And so I wanted to
I'm a good man.
That's right, Ted Goodman.
Should we take a vote on that?
After seeing Sound of Freedom, I wanted to go on the sex offender registry and search for sex offender. That's how enraged it made me. Yeah, see.
That's his Dr. Maria. Will you come up here so we can hear you? Dr. Maria has come back.
Yeah,
Dr. Maria,
we have a chair right there for you, Dr. Maria.
Chair, Dr. Maria, and then we have a special guest at 8:30.
That's right.
Take 5 minutes to give this.
New York City detective.
That's right. That's right.
The best.
Well, yeah, like I said, Mayor.
I'm going to ask him. Does he think he could have solved the cocaine case?
After I saw Sound of Freedom, I was so enraged that I didn't know. I don't know if people know this. You said it many times that America is the #1 sex trafficking place in the whole world.
I didn't know that. I learned that from.
I learned that from
Jacques.
Right.
Jack. Remember
Yeah.
when we did the podcast?
Yeah, in the warehouse over there.
No,
No,
a
this
couple
was
of years ago.
a couple
Oh,
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea. It's so
It shocked
crazy.
me. It shocked me. I always thought it was some like weird, when I was U.S. attorney, I will tell you something, and I'm going to have Bernie on about this, and Safer, and maybe even Braden if he's willing to do it. But the biggest number of crimes I would get every week in my police report, I had a special section, UN crimes. Biggest number of UN crimes, perversion, beating wives, sex with kids.
Oh my gosh.
UN.
You're talking about the United Nations.
UN.
Well, they have immunity because they're,
That's why they
They
do it.
know
which
it.
is disgusting.
You know how much that
it is
It's
disgusting.
disgusting.
you know what that does to my police department? Try some.
Yeah, of
Demoralizes
course
them.
it does.
So this is what I want to tell your audience, Mr. Mayor. So over a decade, maybe whenever the sex registries started, I would look up in my neighborhood to see if there was any. Thank the Lord, there was none in my neighborhood, but in neighborhoods subsequent to my neighborhoods, I would print the picture, go to everybody in that neighborhood to let them know what their neighbor was like, especially if I saw bikes in the yard and it was, children lived there. So I encourage you, really, I'm serious, to go to the sex registry in your area and look up who's around you. There is how I grew up in medicine, there was no cure for pedophilia. And I believe that to this day, there is no cure. They are serial assaulters, manipulators. They're very good. They tend to get jobs where they're close to children, teachers, priests, bus drivers, ice cream vendors. It's in youth camp
Oh,
counselors.
you saw it in the Boy Scouts, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Not that Boy Scouts is a wonderful organization, but a certain number of people
Yeah, because
who,
they'd have
because it
access
gives
to
them a
children.
cover. It
Yeah.
gives them a cover.
Well, Dr. Maria and Mayor, I don't know if you're aware, City Council is trying to pass a bill, New York City Council, that every criminal background check against a tenant who wants to rent something is illegal now.
including sex offenders.
Yeah,
Everything.
you can be living
Everything.
next
I
to a
have all that.
murderer,
Yep.
next to a
So
sex offender.
I'm in. Let's say somebody's listening to us from Minnesota, and their young girl is graduating from college. She wants to come to New York.
Mhm.
She wants to get an apartment. She's not. We got to tell the parents we're not going to know if a sex offender lives next.
That's
to her.
absolutely
Or a
100%
murderer
correct.
or
Like
a
hell.
rapist.
That would
And
never
they all
happen
get
if I
out
were married.
nowadays.
You know how
It's not
fast
like
that'd
they're in
get
jail.
vetoed?
I mean, listen, we already know City Council is 98% Democrat. There's only 5 Republicans in there, so they just have the majority and they'll pass whatever they want.
This is what kills me, though. There was a day
They
where
could
there's
probably
common
overcome the veto,
sense
too.
Yeah,
people
of course.
in both parties. Now
I'd
we're
find a way
saying
to- I'd find a way to fix that.
Democrats like a whole, and they are acting like one machine. There's no free thinkers in that Democrat Party anymore to say this is nonsense. What the hell are we doing?
But I mean, it's bad enough they're communists. They got to be perverts too.
yeah. Well, maybe
I mean, they
Marjorie
protect.
Taylor Greene is right about that.
Maybe they protect communism. They protect China. They protect every criminal I can think of. And that's why we have so much crime. They let criminals out on the street.
Mhm.
They want their vote. But I don't understand either their support for these perverted anti-children things, or their silence on it. It's a little bit like they react to anti-Semitism they did pass a resolution condemning that massive anti-Semite Jayapal who attacked Israel, but it got 9 votes. Got 9 votes basically to destroy the state of Israel.
But
We have 9 members of Congress, and she only voted for it because she had to, or they'd throw her out. Oh, no, they wouldn't throw her out. They're not going to throw anybody out because they don't have the guts. I mean, and if you're a New Yorker and you're a Jewish New Yorker and you have any remaining respect for Schumer, lose it. Lose it.
mm-hmm.
These people are not politically vying with Israel. They want, when you support the boycott, you want to starve them out of it. That's the purpose of the boycott. Right in the papers. Please read. Nobody ever read the Black Lives Matter. I didn't. You all supported them. No, you didn't. But any idiots out there did.
They're a Marxist organization, plain as day, in their manifesto.
They don't even hide it.
No, they're
They
proud
tell
of it.
you right up front we're a Marxist organization. They tell you right up front we want to kill cops, not just to fund them. We want to kill them.
Well, Mayor, you know what BLM stands for? Buy large mansions.
Yeah. And which is very communist.
That's good.
I mean, come
That
on.
is,
come on.
I mean,
Yeah.
Patrice Cullors became a communist leader before she became a communist leader because the communists are all rich. They make you poor.
Go to break. Oh.
The whole expression of deplorables that Hillary has comes from her training with communists, where because communists are members of the party in China, the almost 1 million members, 100 million members of the party are the richest people in China. The other 1.3 billion are either starving or just okay. Well, thank you, Maria, and welcome back.
Good to see you,
Welcome
Mayor.
back.
I feel
Great to have you back. We got to catch you up on the Gilgo
Yes, I
Beach
know.
case, which we're going to talk about
Yes.
in a little while. She would have
Do
been
you have a guest today?
she would have been very helpful to us when we were out there.
I'm a true crime
When
person.
we were,
Oh, you're going to take a break.
and she might have helped us with the bugs too, because she's a nurse practitioner and a hospital
So
administrator.
it
And
means I'm an entomologist too?
well,
I
you
could
know,
keep-
well, you could have gotten us to the right drugstore, and man, we were really attacked by those
Oh,
bugs.
bug spray. We needed bug spray, Dr.
Well,
Well, you would have
right.
at least reminded us
Yeah.
to take the bug spray with us in the
Exactly.
first place.
It's like the Democrats keep attacking me all the time, right?
Right.
All right.
And
They have a Democrat spray.
Don't
Can I
forget.
ask
Don't forget. In
something?
2023, you can
Yeah.
identify as whatever you like. You could be what kind of doctor you want. You can, whatever you want to do. So you could
Really?
be anything you like.
I see. I just,
Yes.
before we go to break, I want to remind your audience, I'm at Maria Ryan NH on Twitter. Everything else, all other social media, it's at Dr. Maria, but Twitter is at Maria Ryan NH.
And go see the video of her working in a garden. Man, you were really
I was
That-
sweating
you-
my.
yeah. That's a good one. That shows what a hardworking
I am.
person you are.
I
So
do it
now we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have a surprise. Faith and family, freedom and finance are 4 things that we would do anything to protect. I trust the team at Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors, with providing the advice and sound strategies to take advantage of the inflationary pressures, the high interest rates, and the international challenges we face today. The Kirk Elliott team, with over 29 years of experience, shares our values and believes in people over profit. They can help you protect your finances from the big government policies that are out of our control. So what's in our control? The decision to act or not to act is within our control. I encourage you to act. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors today. Start working with a team that will help you protect your retirement assets with gold and silver while sharing your desire to protect your faith, family, and freedom. Call them today, 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and tell them Rudy sent you. Or simply fill out a request for a free consultation at kirkelliottphd.com/Rudy about the interview. And then when they got there, they were told they had to go through the Secret Service, and they never got to interview Hunter Biden. Now, I want to tell you that this whole target letter to Trump is a complete false act on the part of an unscrupulous prosecutor with an unscrupulous record. This isn't a target letter. This is an excuse for publicity. Number one, to cover what's going on today in the devastating evidence, which is historic. This is 2 together 40-year IRS agents, unblemished record, testifying that the vice president of the United States and his family got $17 million while he was in office for nothing other than the use of his influence, because there's no other explanation of it. And you want the proof that money went to him? You go to the hard drive, you go to December 2018, and you have definitive proof. Hunter telling his daughter that for 30 years, which includes this period of time, Joe got one half of all the money coming in, as it should be for the head of the crime family. There's everybody, including Fox and sometimes Newsmax, that does there's no proof that Joe got money. No proof. There's so much proof you'd vomit and choke on it. But there's the best proof you can have. His son tells you, when he describes to his daughter the arrangement that she's going to have to follow, that Papa gets half the money and Papa gets half the money because all the money is for Papa, but he uses it to take care of the family. That's what a good Papa is, except to the granddaughter whose life he's going to destroy. Somebody should stop that. Well, I have with me New York City Police Sergeant Joseph Imperatrice, right?
Yes, sir.
Imperatrice, who's the founder of Blue Lives Matter. Oh, well, we've met before.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to pretend we haven't because
Thank you.
That's right, Mayor. We
and
have.
I'm gonna have you first before I kind of borrow your expertise on the Gilgo murder case, which I want you to tell me why. I think most people know why you started Blue Lives Matter, but I'd like you to explain it maybe to the people that don't know.
Well, back in 2014.
Move your chair in as close to it possible. Good, and talk up real loud.
Well, back in 2014, with the deaths of detectives Lou and Ramos, every day you went on the news, the front page of the paper, there was vilifying police officers all across the nation. And through all of that, the families of cops that that lose their loved ones, they feel like this is what my loved one gave their life for. So we wanted to bring them to the forefront and always let them know that no matter how bad things got, we would always be there for them to remember their loved one.
And now this is, of course, in the wake of the $100 million that was given to Black Lives Matter, despite the fact that at every protest that they have, including their peaceful protests, I have not found one, but they say they're a peaceful protest somewhere. Every one that I see ends up in violence, but maybe there's a peaceful protest when 3 of them are there. They always yell, peaceful or not, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Now, they talk about signaling. That's not signaling. That is kill cops, kill cops, kill cops. One of the first times they did it in Dallas, the crowd went out and I think killed 4 cops.
Yeah.
The police killings are up.
Yes, sir.
Since Black Lives Matter spent a little bit of the $100 million they raised in trying to get cops killed, right?
Yes, sir.
So their platform is make us communist. Big one is get rid of the generic family. Well, that doesn't mean just they hate fathers. First thing you got to do is got to throw the father out of the house. Then you get rid of the mother at 2 years old because the state takes over the education. You know where that idea comes from? Karl Marx, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler. Get them at 2, brainwash them. You think it's an accident we're doing this, grooming kids to become transsexuals and transvestites and transgender and chop off their genitals? Not an accident. Very much a part of the communist agenda to take over a nation. Marx wrote about it. Engels wrote about it. Hitler tried it. And now we are. Every time we try to prohibit it in a democratic state, Democrats are in favor of let them get chopped up as early as possible. Every Republican state says either no chopping up, or you got to wait until you're 18 or older. And before that, you need the parents. Democrats say, don't need parents. Don't need parents. This is pretty much where the 2 parties come out. I don't know about local citizens, but 2 parties come out that way. So what kind of progress have you made with Blue Lives Matter?
We've gone nationwide. We've helped families all over this country struggling, whether they've lost a loved one or have a diagnosis that's not good, that they're dying of 9/11 cancer. And to be able to put a smile on these families' faces when they think that it's the roughest time, where they sit there and say, my loved one's not here, we're going to let them know they're
Thank
always
you.
going to have a family.
Gosh, Joseph, that's amazing. That is amazing. So I got to ask you a couple of questions about your detective expertise.
Yes,
How
sir.
long have you been a cop?
17 and a half years.
So you came on the job.
2006.
So after I was mayor in 2006, and you've been a detective now.
Been in the Bureau probably 7 or 8 years now.
Okay, that's a good long time.
Yes, sir.
So how is it possible that you can't find Suppose I was the mayor and you were a detective like you are now, and I call you over, and the police commissioner and I say, Joe, there's cocaine in one of the lockers in City Hall, and it's been there for a couple of days. We would like you to find it, but when we found it, we'd like you to find who put it there. Now, I know you can't guarantee solving a case. What do you think the chances are you and your guys could solve that case? In City Hall, if I told you we take the names of everybody that comes in, we got cameras all over the place. We got cameras on those boxes in particular because they're very sensitive boxes. Oh, and by the way, those lockers are next to our most sensitive room. That's the place we go if there's a terrorist attack on the city and plan, the most secret plan. So we have to have special. What do you think the chances are of New York City detectives finding it?
The right team, sir, we'd have a great answer for you.
Yeah,
we'd have a great outcome.
Yeah. Think maybe you could have done better if we sent you down to Washington?
I think we could have. With the guys that I've worked with, the most incredible detectives in the world, absolutely.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, sir.
That's not even a compliment. Because I could have sent Mickey Mouse down there and they could have found it. I've worked there. I've lived there. My son was there for 4 years just recently. He knows exactly the spot. The spot has a camera, right? No, they must have taken the camera away.
Yeah. Laziness.
They got rid of the outer packaging.
Unbelievable.
So now they're able to solve this Gilgo murder case because they keep the packaging for 13 years. They got rid of it in 11 days. So now let's go to the Gilgo case. 2022. Rodney Harrison and Bill Tierney take over. Rodney was a chief on your job.
Yes, sir.
What was he at?
He was a chief of detectives, and then chief of department, I believe.
Oh, okay. He was chief of detectives. I really didn't know him well, but okay. Chief of detectives, chief of the department. Tierney is the first elected Republican DA out there in who knows how long. And he replaces a DA who is now in jail. I mean, the Democratic Party out there, if I say it is similar to the one in Manhattan, I'm right. If I say it's like in Philadelphia or Chicago or Detroit or about the same. I mean, it's one crook after another. And it will emerge from this that Oak Beach community was a place where they went and put their prostitutes there, did their drugs there, sold guns there. The chief gets caught with a big package in his car of all sorts of drugs and stuff, but also all kinds of S&M sex equipment. And then there's a big history of him as a sexual pervert. So the chief, Burke, who conducted this investigation originally, is in jail for 40 months, and the district attorney Spoder is in jail for almost that amount of time. And they were conducting this investigation. So in 2012, this is what they had. They had 2010, I'm sorry. In 2010, this is what they had. And get ready, Ted, with the pictures. In 2010, they go to New Jersey or New York, I don't remember, and they interview a pimp who's just lost his, what do you call a pimp? A prostitute? The prostitute?
Yes.
Pimp's girl?
Prostitute.
Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
And they ask him a question. She's been gone for some time. And he says, well, a guy came to pick her up. He was in a Chevy Avalanche. He was 6'4" to 6'6". He was very big, not muscular, big, I think meaning fat. And he looked like an ogre. That's one fact. Then 2 years later, when there were other murders, they pick up the fact that the four girls that possibly might be killed by him, maybe 5, their cell phones, the burner phones, coming back to his burner phones. But they don't have his burner phones, but they have the cell towers they went to. 4 cell towers surround Massapequa, New York, almost like a rectangle. So now we got a car. We got an unusual description. We got a town that has 17,000 people. Getting small now, right?
Sir.
Got a town that has 17,000 people. And then they figure out from another burner phone that he works in Midtown Manhattan. So now we got to find an big ogre male in Massapequa, New York. So Ted, can you show us the pictures now? Have you shown us the pictures?
That's right. Let's bring up the pictures.
Show us the picture of the car first. Well, what have you got?
Let's start with the car. That's a very distinct pickup truck, right? Right there in the
There
corner.
it is. Can you see that? It's a little small for you, but can you see that right there?
That's a Chevy, right? That's a Chevy Avalanche. Anyone that knows the Avalanche, it has a very unique little back attachment between the cab and the truck bed, right?
Yeah, let's see. Can you show that?
That's
Ted?
very unique. And I remember back when Chevy Avalanche was new on
Once
the market.
again, can you show that little thing?
Yeah.
You can't see it really good, but I'm gonna point to it. It's right there. Can they see that if I point to it?
They can see the truck. They don't see you pointing. No.
How can they see me pointing?
If I take it off.
Yeah.
There. Now hold up your pointer, Mayor. Hold it up. Hold it up. Let people know what you're doing. That's our pointer. And we have a screen offset here. So.
Well, why don't you point to it if you can?
Yeah.
Put your finger on it. Put the screen back here and you point to it.
Okay. I see.
I want you to show the triangle right in here.
Yep.
The triangle of the Chevy Avalanche that makes it a unique car.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, and Mayor, I know you asked for this stat. There's only 8,300 males in Massapequa Park. You were asking for that.
And do we know how many are can we take kids out?
I cannot take kids out. They just go by mail.
We'll find
At this time.
Yeah,
I will
we'll
find
start
out.
taking out. So now we're down to 8,300 people. So here's the ogre. You see ogre right there? Good description. That looks like Biden there. There's the ogre
That's him.
right there. Oh, by the way, just as an aside,
Here's his house.
whatever ever happened to all of Epstein's clients? We don't even have one. We do have one that donated 600 grand to Biden, but that wasn't reported in the censored news. This is the house. Oh, here's another thing you got to know. The guy lives in the shittiest house in Massapequa Park.
Let me bring up our picture.
If you drive through Massapequa Park, which is only 17,000 people, you and I could drive through it. You and I could drive through it, and we go out there, tomorrow in about. Right now, unfortunately, there are people in front of the house, so you'd pick it out. But we could drive through it before that happened. And I said, "Which house looks like that? I want you to find a house here that looks like the house of a mass killing." And this thing would jump out. This thing would jump at you like a sore tooth. It's the only house where the lawn isn't. So if they have 17,000 people, 8,000 males, given that, what do you think they have about 6,000 or 7,000 homes?
Let me see that for you. I do know the average household income in Massapequa Park is 161,000,
which is big.
There's a lot of money out there.
Yeah. I was saying the houses.
Households with children, Mayor, 1,900 households with children, and 3,900 without children, Mayor.
Okay. 3,900 without children.
5,800 homes.
If about 5,800 homes ish, perhaps I would say.
Yeah, close to 6,000.
Yep.
Now, what you'd have to do. So tell me if we did that. So now
Here's a picture of
of who?
Massapequa Park from the air.
Yeah, that's Massapequa Park from the air.
Very idyllic bedroom community.
Okay, now if you want to show this, I'm going to show them on here. Okay, you want to go to here?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to show them on here where it is. It's the yellow marked rectangle, more or less, here between Massapequa on one side and another little sliver of Massapequa on the other. That's Massapequa Park. I would think, how would you try to find, detective, how would you try to find now the 6'4" to 6'6" guy in the community of Massapequa Park that looks like an ogre?
Well, we know that he's traveling back and forth to Manhattan, so I get the closest train station. I'd look for that car to see if he was parking there
That's Massapequa Park.
every single day, and I'd wait to see if somebody was coming out to and from that train station, follow him to the home, and sit on the house to see if anybody other than what we thought was his wife was going in and out. We'd also trail him on his days off to see where he was going. So even if you take away the phones, which of course they were looking at, you have a lot of time to watch his every single move.
How if I tell you that he took the train every day, except for whatever vacations he took the train from Massapequa Park to Penn Station every day. He got off that train station, except for whatever nights he messed around or killed somebody, I guess. He took the train home, and I don't know if he walked home or took a cab home at that, or a car. He may have had a car. A lot of those people, remember how many cars were parked there when we went
right.
there?
That's right, Mayor. Folks said he would often walk. Some witnesses said they'd see him walking.
Walking home?
Walking from the train station to his home.
It's about a mile.
It's walkable. Of course, with bad weather, assuming bad weather, I'm guessing maybe he took his car to the train station.
I used to live in North Belmore, New York, which is about 4 stops before that. North Belmore, Wantor, Seafoot, Massapequa Park. Remember what they were calling it. So it would be North Belmore, Wantor, Seafoot, Massapequa Park. When I would get off, and I lived in North Belmore, and he lived in Massapequa Park, in a part of Massapequa Park that is not quite as north as mine, but north. I'm going to say it might have been even a 3/4. My walk was 1.25 miles. And unless I was in a rush, I try to do it every day just for staying in shape. And so a lot of people walk, but a lot of people take a car. But a guy that's 6'4" or 6'8", coming off the train every day, if you and a couple of your team are stationed at various parts of the station, you're going to find this guy.
You would think so. Common sense would say yes.
We could try to break down how many people are 6'4" or 6'8" to get off on that station. But I don't know, if you got 20 people, it's a lot.
And he's a very unique. When you look at him, it's a very unique description, and he fits it from what we know.
And maybe you might have to try. You might have to follow more than one person. You might get a couple of 6'4", 6'6" guys, 280 to 350. But then you'd be able to find out if it's him, because he pretty much, as you saw, parked his car in front of his home.
Yes, sir.
So your Chevy Avalanche is there for you. This is a made for amateur detective night.
Well, when you have the right investigators, as we've seen recently with Rodney Harrison's guys that he chose, the right work gets done when it needs to get done.
They got on him right away.
Correct.
It took them, these guys were doing it for 13 years, couldn't find the guy. It took him a year to get him, but it took him 3 weeks to get on the right suspect.
Yes, sir.
Which I think is about the time your figure we would have. If you and I did it, we go out to the train station, we watch, we come up with the guy. Maybe we missed the first time, maybe it was the third time we get the Chevy. Then we start taking a look. Once you start taking a look at him, it's all, as it usually is with these guys, the evidence just. And then the great work that they did, as you said, then they followed him, and he dropped the pizza. They waited him to go in. When he dropped the pizza, they grabbed it, got his DNA.
Yes.
Then when he wasn't home, they ruffled around the garbage, which is legal because it's disposed of. They ruffled around the garbage. They pulled out hairs. The hairs match his wife. It's in the burlap of the girls that are buried. Now, I give him great credit for doing that. But honestly, and I still do, because they had to take over a shitty investigation. That's really hard. But that's pretty much average police work. I mean, that's
it's a little bit more than average, and thank God for DNA, with the DNA stuff
yeah.
that we have. But this is a long-term investigation. Those guys did an amazing job, and hopefully these families get some closure now. But unfortunately, Mayor, as you know, how many more are going to come forward saying that someone was assaulted or he tried hurting them or they got away? So I could definitely see a lot more people coming forward in the coming weeks.
Yeah. You look at all the profiles You know, all the profilers are out now, and they're always right after the fact. But they're saying, you know, he fits the profile. The first thing that he did when he got in jail, you'll be interested in this. My first thing he said was it in the, did we get a lot of publicity?
Mayor, I actually read that. And
Did we get a lot, these guys are involved with it.
I believe
Did we get a lot of publicity?
His quote was,
How do you not punch these guys in the mouth?
He says is it in the news? He asked the jailer of Nassau
but then
County.
he asked how much.
Right. And then
You want to know how much
right.
coverage he got.
So that right there just kind of proves that he has some kind of like a schizophrenic, some kind of mental disorder that you know, he's a serial killer.
But I mean, quite honestly, that every psychiatrist will tell you that with the serial killer or the mass killer, the desire for publicity is usually very big.
Well, they say sometimes serial killers even visit the sites when the media gets there and the cops get there because they want to see their work. They're very like proud of their work, and you don't even know they're in the crowd. Like,
They suspect he did that.
right.
They suspect he revisited places.
Right.
He also, when he was able to keep the poor girl's phone,
Yes.
he would use their phone to torture their family. I mean, so we got look, a serial killer is a sadist by definition, but we got some additional acts of sadism here.
Yes, sir.
You know, beyond
That
and you have also independent witnesses who have come forward. You know, now they're interviewing everyone who knew him, because this trial is going to have a lot to do with insanity.
That's right, Mayor. And your, of course, Mayor Giuliani, all your experience working with law enforcement as a prosecutor and as mayor of New York City, and of course your experience, Sergeant Imperatrice, and all of your work. Imperatrice.
That's right. We're going to make you an
They
Italian.
may know.
Somehow.
If you can't tell, I may not be Italian over here, so I apologize. In your experience,
That doesn't mean
that
doesn't mean he isn't a good man.
Hey, if I get
Well, we
a
accept
seal
it.
of approval from Mayor Giuliani, I don't know
Well,
who
we-
else
well,
you
we
could
accept
possibly
it.
want it from.
We could try.
We accept it. Mike will accept it.
I'm Catholic too, guys. I'm Catholic, so that counts for something.
Well, I don't know about that. No.
So, but in both of your experiences combined, this is a question for both of you. Outside of the particulars of this case, where we're learning there may be some corruption of some previous officials in the area, outside of that, in general, what can sometimes hamper an investigation, right? When this sort of thing happens, just sure. Let's go before you find the person, just in the let's say the whodunit stage, right? What sort of thing is it? Communication? Is it ego? I'm just curious. What sort of
I'm glad
general?
you made that point, because I don't know that I initiated this in the PD, but I reestablished it with Bratton. One of our first murders was a big high-profile murder, and I just wanted it solved quickly. I knew I couldn't reduce crime right away, but I knew we had the best homicide division in the world. As U.S. attorney, the 10 years before, I used them in every mafia.
And why is it? Before we go on, why is it the best homicide division in the world? Just real quick.
2 reasons. They get more experience than anyone. Number 2, it's a very selective police department.
They get to pick and choose.
The exam is a difficult exam. And you know, the further back you go, the more difficult it was before affirmative action.
Sure.
So you got some of the brightest people in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And then you got the street smarts, which is
probably the most important.
you can't teach it.
Yes.
Oh.
You can't teach it. You can't teach it.
Yes.
That's why the book is coming tomorrow.
Okay.
I want you to read about the fictitious Lieutenant Delaney and how he puts a serial killing together.
Yeah. But back to your point, Mayor. So under Bratton,
What I did, because Bratton was my first commissioner, we had this big high-profile murder. I said, we're going to put everything out. Everything we got, we're going to put out. We'll save one thing, because you always save one thing so that the guy can't lie to you. People come in and confess to murders they didn't commit,
really,
particularly serial killers.
Yes, they do.
If this guy started going again and did 2 or 3 of these, he started doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, Mayor, the lawyer for Rex, or whatever his name is actually saying that they have the wrong guy and there might be accomplices and this and that. But I don't really buy
Well,
that.
there's one thing.
his lawyer.
Yeah, that's his
I like
lawyer.
number 2.
Accomplices.
I think there were accomplices.
I agree with that, but the wrong guy theory, I don't agree with. But definitely accomplices, yes.
Oh, they don't have the wrong guy.
No, they do not have the wrong guy. No, they do not. That's a
at
very particular looking man they described, and
Look at him.
I mean, come on.
Look at the house. I'm telling you, if you go out to that community and you just drive along, you don't know anything, you say to yourself, the guy in that house is a killer,
but
a murderer. There are bodies in the house. There are witches in the house.
To put a bow on what you were saying, though, Mayor,
And I'm not just saying that. The neighbors used to say that for the last 20 years. They said that when they passed that house, they used to joke around and say, I bet there are a bunch of dead bodies in the house.
Word for word, somebody was a neighbor and
they
his
couldn't
friend.
find the damn house in 13 years.
But Mayor, so to put a bow on that, you put all the information publicly because you wanted the help of the public.
The public, of course.
Were there some, you don't have to name names, were some opposed to that? Were some, did everybody kind of get behind that? Or were there some pushback?
Not too many.
But, like, oh, well, we don't want to give anything away. We don't want to tip off. There's legitimate reasons not to, right? So,
yeah, but you can do that by giving away a lot and keeping some behind, so that you don't jeopardize your case, and somebody can confess and know all the facts.
Sure.
So you give out the ones that are the ones that will help you the most. Like you want to give out the car, you want to give out the guy's size, you'd want to give out where he you'd want to give out where he lives. You would not want to give out the burner phones, that he used burner phones, because the guy that comes in and confess won't know that he used burner phones.
Right.
He'll know.
So, Joe, you're a detective, obviously, in the greatest police department in the world. Have you ever encountered anything like this with the NYPD? Not like, personally you, but any of your coworkers. Have you ever had some kind of serial killer in New York City? I don't know if the mayor has had it when he was mayor. I was young back then.
We had a serial.
Besides the son of Sam, obviously.
I didn't have the son of
the
Sam.
serial killer and how you guys handle that.
Let him.
Well,
I can always do that.
Right.
Well, as the mayor said too, there's people out there that actually years later, after not getting caught, and I had an experience, they show up and say, hey, I killed so-and-so. And you think that they're mentally unstable. But if you get the proper detective that hears this and doesn't kick them out and say, no, this guy's nuts, we were able to bring him upstairs. He confessed to a murder that happened in Brooklyn North years prior. When we called them, the sergeant on the case said, wait a minute, we've been looking for this guy. We have no leads. They come down, and before you know it, you throw him on video, and you have the guy that killed somebody, because now he's been sitting on it for so long and he wants to come out and say it. He's had it on his mind.
Of course.
And sure enough, it led to a conviction that happened years later. So like I said, you have to have the proper detectives that actually listen and have that experience and say, wait a minute, we have a hunch, because it is a sixth hunch, or sense when you're a great police officer.
And you don't close any murder case.
Correct.
Right.
And you one of the things that you can really contribute to as a good detective, even if you don't get the credit for solving the case, you collect everything.
Right.
And one thing they did do is collect a lot of things, but they gave a lot of things away too. Like they gave cameras away.
Mm-hmm.
There was particularly with regard to the let's call it the odd one out, the one with Gilbert. There were cameras in that neighborhood, and there were cameras in one of the homes that they erased.
Right.
The police never asked for it, and they never said they had cameras. So when they do it in the movie, there's a movie called Lost Girls that describes this. They asked a guy who they think might be involved, and he's still a guy that could be involved in that one. And they say to him, didn't you have cameras in here that took pictures of this? He said, well, I assume they did. The association always does. Well, why didn't you give them to the police? They didn't ask. And we destroy them, every 3 months.
Right.
But they said, well, didn't you think it was your obligation to tell them? Well, he said, don't you think it's their obligation to know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. How do you figure that one out, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, obviously we know Son of Sam was the most famous serial killer in New York City history, right? I like in recent times, right? So, Joe, has there ever been someone kind of echoing Son of Sam, like in your time as you were a cop, like, just going around shooting people, anything like that in New York City history? Or that was just like the last famous serial killer of New York City times?
Serial killer wise, I wouldn't say that, but violent crime, shootings with guns all throughout the different boroughs. That's why they have IBIS hits. That's why we track firearms. And try
all
to match
legal
it to other
guns,
ones.
by the way.
Yeah.
Mostly, right?
Yeah,
mostly
yeah.
I hate
to
jinx New York City.
Yeah.
A serial killer is two or more,
Right.
independent of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kill two people at once, or even 10 people at once, you're a mass killer. Serial killer at one time was three or more, but they decided to narrow the definition. So you start to focus on them earlier and catch them earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a serial killer Howard Safer was the commissioner. And you know how we solved it? We solved it on the third assault, second murder. Third assault. There were 2 murders before. He had committed an assault on right near the East River, on the sort of the area that goes to the heliport. And he grabbed her and he attempted to rape the girl. He had already raped and killed 2 within a couple of months of each other. And she fought him off. He beat the hell out of her. I went to see her in the hospital. He beat the living daylights out of her. He never penetrated. He got close to ripping her clothes off. And then and she fought back big time. And then at the end, when he saw people coming, realizing he was going to have to run away, and this is a little unusual for a serial killer, because he also was a robber and a thief, he decided, and this was his mistake, he decided he was going to take a purse. Well, if I can't rape her, I'll take a purse. But people are running toward him. He gets the purse and he drops it. On the purse is his fingerprint. This guy had never been arrested. And if I hadn't been mayor, he wouldn't have been arrested. He got arrested for fair beating. We never fingerprinted anybody for fair beating. Under Dinkins, we didn't even arrest him. But even before Dinkins, it was a ticket offense. When I became mayor, first thing I did under broken windows, which is a theory that I have been working on with Professor Wilson since 1981. May I say, just for the record and history, that Bratton did not invent the broken window theory. He didn't even know about it. When I knew about it, broken windows theory was first developed in 1979. I first worked with Professor Wilson on the Attorney General's Task Force on Violent Crime in 1981 and watched it being used in North Carolina and other places. Broken windows theory says you go after small crimes. You're going to discourage large crimes that way. A lot of small criminals that you catch as small criminals are really big criminals. You get a lot of practice. Police get better. A lot of things. So as a result of our broken windows theory, we were now printing everybody that tried to jump over turnstile. In the middle of this, in the middle of doing a serial killing, I guess if you're a serial killer, you don't want to pay your tolls. He jumped a toll in Midtown Manhattan, gets taken in. Of course, they don't know he's a serial killer. They probably let him out on bail ultimately, because even then that wouldn't have been an immediate incarceration first time. But for the first time, they got doop, boop, bop, boop, bop, ba-da-da-ba, doop. Now you have the fingerprint. Just because you have a fingerprint, I mean, you catch anybody. You got to. If a person is in the army, you might not have the fingerprint. We didn't just have the fingerprint. We had it right up front because we had just arrested him. We caught him 5 hours after we identified the fingerprint. And then a lot of the experts said we probably prevented 8 or 10 murders.
It's incredible.
This guy would have probably done 8 or 10 before you got him. And if they're good, they know how to leave tantalizing but useless leads. This guy was not good. Those were too many, like, for example, exposing himself to the John. Had there been proper police work, would have kept all these girls alive. He really should have been caught after her name is Amber Costello. He should have been caught right with that Amber Costello case when the John said 6'5" and a Chevy Avalanche. Those 2 things should have started to narrow it. Now, you don't get them then. You should have gotten them in 2012 when you picked up the Massapequa Park. Because now you're self-limiting so much. You got to be a dope not to find them.
Well, that's right, Mayor. Well, we're in soccer time now, so bonus content for everybody. Bonus content.
While we have you on, Sergeant, Blue Lives Matter NYC, could you, and a lot of our audience obviously is aware of the organization and probably knows what you do, but for those that may not be as aware, other than it's a very pro police organization, what is it exactly that you do? And after that, I'm going to ask you to let folks know how they can help out.
Well, we're a registered 501c3 organization. We raise money for the families of cops killed in the line of duty or diagnosed with a life-threatening disease. September, we're working with NYCFC Soccer Club. We're working with the New York Mets. We're actually honoring the family of Anthony Vivaro, the Port Authority cop that died on 9/11, going to work in a car accident. We have his family throwing out the first pitch. And we actually are working with the Yankees, where we invite line of duty families to come with us. You can go to bluelivesmatternyc.org. We love to have people that even aren't police officers come be around police officers, be around the families of cops that were killed, that maybe you saw on the front page of the paper and you saw how their hearts were just ripped out, and you just want to say thank you to their family and get to know the police. Because listen, when you first get on, Mr. Mayor, you get, as a police officer, full of piss and vinegar, you think it's all about just arrests and summonses, which it is, but it's building relationships with the community and showing them that you as well are human, just like them.
Could have been said better.
Wow.
See what good cops we have in this city
And
how
Joe,
abused they are.
don't forget about the gala every year that you do.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you came along with Mike.
Yeah, that's right.
How great was it? Our friend, you just had him on, Scott Lebedo, did an amazing painting for us. We raised $12,000 for Christine Lem. Her husband, hero detective Joe Lem, was killed in Afghanistan. Christine, God bless you, and little Ryan and Brooke. Amazing every year. We had 613 people. We had our good friend Emily Compagno this year. Chaz Palminteri is a great supporter. Joe Piscopo, that's what we need. More actors coming out, more artists, more people that sing songs.
They're there. You're good
They can't
at
be
it, too.
afraid.
Just got to reach them.
Yes, sir.
This is something I think you'll find the actors will support, even more than they'll say they're Republicans or right wing, because you don't get hit as much for this. You get hit a little. I mean, you got some pretty real way out lefties in Hollywood, and they see you're supporting police, you're going to take a little hit, but you won't take a big hit. You become a Republican, you're ready for assassination.
Well, if you support Trump, forget about it. They want to hang you.
Oh, they do. You think I'm kidding?
I know.
As sad as it is, this really is a nonpartisan issue, of course, and so
Police?
we should all
The only people who make this a partisan issue are the Democrats,
isn't it? It's
by letting
insane.
all the damn criminals out of jail.
So we encourage all of our.
He arrests people. There's a 3 out of 4 chance they'll be out on the street a half hour later.
Just look at Oregon.
3 out of 4.
Well,
There's a potential
It used
serial
to be the
killer
other
out
way
there.
around.
Right.
Be 1 out of 4.
Well,
1 out of 5.
I was going to say, man,
And particularly a detective, because detectives make big arrests. They don't
miss
make.
your broken windows thing when you were mayor. Obviously, other mayors don't want to intact it because people say it's racist and this
Yeah.
and that. It's all bull crap.
Stop, question, and frisk.
Yeah,
what the heck?
It's all bull crap, mayor. We miss your.
It's race. It's the best thing for races because it protects blacks more than anybody else.
I've worked on statewide races for African American candidates for higher office. You go to these black communities. I'm talking Detroit, Saginaw, Flint. It's the older black women in the community, right? It's the people living in these communities that want and support law enforcement more than anyone else. And often it's these. I don't want to go on a high horse here, but it's these out-of-town liberals, right? That's what I'll say. I'll leave it at that. Out-of-town liberals who come in and cause the problem.
It's 2 things. It's the crooked Democratic liberals,
Mhm.
and it's a good deal of the political blacks.
Right.
Don't let them off the hook. There are some that support it, and they know better. It's even on choice in schools. The black community supports choice in schools 70%. Black politicians supported 10%.
Of course.
Right,
Of course.
right.
Yes.
Well, and they screw their community.
Exactly.
That's right.
The reason,
Exactly.
if anyone's listening who's African American, you have a kid, you can't get that kid into a charter school in New York City. It's because of the black political leadership in New York City, which is owned by the teachers union, not by you. And the teachers union is a virulent communist organization that is the main reason your children are getting a bad education.
That's right.
They're the opposite of teachers. They are horrible. And if they have good teachers, they pay no attention to them. They don't reward them. And they do have good teachers. And a large number of them get discouraged.
That's right,
And
man.
the numbers get worse and worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon, nobody's going to know how to read or write that goes to a New York public school. Right now, they're like 40% at 8th grade level.
It's so bad.
Can do math, and 52% can read.
Right.
The kids seem to come. I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but the kids seem to come last when it comes to teachers unions.
Right.
Kids don't exist where it comes to teachers.
Well, Mayor, I'll give you an example. When I was FDY EMS, Joe, I'm sure could piggyback off this. When I went into dangerous neighborhoods, project buildings, whatever, public housing, residents would express their concerns that they want more police there. And these are people who live in some of the worst conditions in New York City. And you know, unfortunately, the political climate now, they're not getting the resources they need in those neighborhoods, and it's a shame.
It is a shame, and
Yeah.
and the numbers of crimes we have. If you live in an American city, and I'll be very blunt about it, if you live in an American city with a progressive Democratic mayor and a Soros DA, you have a lot of crime, and a lot more black people are dying than should die.
Absolutely.
And if you want a guy who's responsible for the death of numerous black people in this country, and he uses his money to get them killed, it's George Soros. When George Soros put Krasner in Philadelphia as the DA, they had 2 years in a row of record homicides. Not record in the 200 or 300 year history of Philadelphia. 78% of the people who died were black. Unless you're a fool, you had to know if you're going to do what Krasner was doing, putting violent criminals back out on the street, they're going to kill more people. Unless you were a fool, you had to know that 7 or 8 out of 10 of those people were black people. So the minute you put them out on the street, unless you were a fool, you knew you were getting more black people killed. Same token, when I picked up criminals and I was tough on murderers and I used stop and frisk, I'm not ashamed of it. I started it. Nobody, that one they don't bother to take away credit for because they're afraid of it. Or Biden is afraid of the 1994 crime bill. It happened to bring crime down in all of America. I don't run away from it because I'm not a disloyal, un-American piece of shit like Biden.
Well, Mayor, didn't Biden sign a bill to actually increase prison sentences?
Oh, did he make it worse?
He made it worse.
Yeah, the moron made it worse.
Right. And now he's all anti-prison and this and that when he was the one who actually intact that bill.
Biden is the reason for the mass incarceration, they'd like to say, of black people. And it was done unintelligently. I didn't have mass incarceration of black people. I had appropriate incarceration of black people. So they say, oh, 70% of the people in jail are black, but only 30% of the population is black. Doesn't matter what the population is. What matters is, do you have the right people in jail? Now, if
committed the crime,
okay,
the
if
people committed the crime.
75% of the victims are black and 75% of the murderers are black,
right?
If it isn't at least 70% of the people in prison that are black, you're not catching the right people.
Bingo.
Well,
When you get somebody to look for, and a black man was killed in front of a black woman, and she wants her husband, she wants justice. She'll describe the person, and you'll go look for the person she describes. You're not picking. You're not. In other words, you're not picking out who you're going to look
Correct.
for. You don't have some kind of inner sense of who the criminals are or crimes. Somebody comes and tells you, institutionally.
You're right.
So you have crime complaints, and somebody has described the race. The race gets selected 8 out of 9 times. The person fingered as the criminal is another black person. So how the hell is that racist? The reason they're on that list more than white people is because black people put them there.
Mr. Mayor, I want to go a step further.
And you want to help those black people.
Stop, question, and possibly frisk. Was people out there automatically think that when a cop stops somebody, that automatically getting frisk? It's not. Not every stop involved a frisk. There were certain situations that
We used
had
to
to
call
be.
it actually a Terry frisk.
Correct.
Because it comes from Terry against Ohio.
Terry v. Ohio.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Joe, we're well into soccer time now. Joe, we thank you for coming. For one more time, where can you tell people to get your
Please,
organization?
and please
Please, how can we raise
pay
money?
attention
Please,
to this.
please, please.
It's going to be Blue Lives Matter, NYC.org. You can also see me on Fox, Newsmax. I go out there, talk about not only police situations, but the ways we help the community. Mr. Mayor, thank you so very much. It's an honor of a
Thank you
lifetime to be with you.
for sharing your expertise as a detective. And I think with you being on, people see the quality that we have of detective in New York. And I mean, he's pretty darn good. I'm not going to say everybody's as good as him, but this is what our department's like.
God bless you.
Young man.
Thank you.
Really, really high quality young man. Now, I'm going to make one comment before we end because I have to about this whole target letter to Trump. There's another reason why this is a clear out violation of the United States Constitution. And therefore, the case should be immediately dismissed and Smith should be thrown out of the case. You don't give him an invitation to the grand jury unless you are trying to unconstitutionally illustrate the fact that he is going to assert the Fifth Amendment. You first find that out before you try to illustrate it. That comes from the United States Attorney's Manual. That comes from common sense, and that comes from the decisions of the United States Supreme Court, in which cases are reversed because a prosecutor puts undue influence on the exercise of the Fifth Amendment. And you just did that, Smith. Just like you were unethical in the other cases you brought and have been cited for it. You know why the hell you sent that letter. You sent that letter to cover up today. And I know why you put the grand jury in, to emphasize the Fifth Amendment. For that, you should be disciplined. But more important, the judge should have the guts to throw out any case you bring. You just violated the 5th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. One of these days, they're going to exist again. And we get you fascists out of government. And I need you for that. Because you see what's happening to the president? This is happening to other people. You just don't know about it. It's happening to people that support Trump. And it's going to happen to a lot more people that just disagree with them. And now they've learned how to be kind of like communist and Nazi police agents. Knock down doors, go at 4 a.m. for a white-collar case, keep these January 6 people in prison for 2 years, send them off for unbelievable sentences, let all the 2020 violent, even murderers go free, elect DAs that treat crime so irresponsibly they're getting black people slaughtered in the United States. It's all on purpose. They're taking us somewhere. Not Dodo Brain in the White House. He doesn't know where the hell he's going. Every time he turns around after a speech, he doesn't know which way he's going. Sometimes now there are like 5 decisions. I'll go this way, go that way, this way, that way, go this way. And did you hear that other pea brain with Joe Scarborough say, oh, his staff doesn't do him any good. They should be, what are they going to do? Get all over him and carry him? How are they going to make up for the fact that he walks up to the president of Cambodia, who looks Asian, and calls him the president of Colombia, who looks Hispanic? How are they going to make up for the fact that he keeps saying that his son died in Iraq and his son died in a hospital bed in Maryland, but having nothing to do with the war? What staff member is going to fix that, Mika, you dope? What staff member can get in his brain and say, hey, demented one, you did not give a Purple Heart to your uncle in the White House, and your father didn't ask you to do it at your vice presidential inauguration because they were dead for 7 years before it happened. And in fact, they did tell you not to do it, and you did it again because you're having delusions. You just exist in a country where the people around you don't love their country. They love power and money. They don't love their country. And your family doesn't love our country, nor do they love you, because you are making a complete ass out of yourself. You look like a stupid idiot. Well, you know something? You deserve it, because you've been an evil man all your life. All you got to do is look at how you're treating your granddaughter, and you're putting a fine point on it, my friend. You are one evil son of a you-know-what. And we got to get him out of office if we want to save our country. And we got to get the Democratic Party out of office. They're filled with Bidens. Raskin, for example. You saw him today. What a liar. So you stay with us. Go to RudyGiulianiCS.com for a podcast that is on now. Number 2, go to WABCRadio.com tomorrow at 3. You'll get our great show. And then come back tomorrow night and we do a televised version. And I tell you what, I promised last night, this time we'll do it. We're going to have telephone calls tomorrow night. We'll spend a lot of time on that. And you get to ask me questions. So get ready, okay? Thank you very much. Pray for our country, all of us. Maybe we should also say a prayer for all those girls whose families are now reliving what Howerman did to them a decade or more ago. Got to be torture. Let's say a prayer for them. And if you resist because of the line of work they were in, go talk to Jesus Christ, huh? And Mary Magdalene, huh? Don't give me that stuff. Okay? You say a little prayer for them, prayer for America. Thank you for being American. And God bless America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given